Welcome to Power of the Tribe podcast. I'm your host, John Connors. I'm also the founder and head instructor of Connors Martial Arts here in Norwood, Massachusetts. We teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai kickboxing, and mixed martial arts. Reach out to us, call us, message us, and we'll help you find your inner badass, wherever he is. And I'm here with my co-host, Dan Robin. How you doing, Dan?
I'm good. How you doing, John?
Have you found your inner badass?
I'm looking. I think I feel better I was sick for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know that cold, like we 2 podcasts ago, you could hear it in our voices, and I felt
sounded
bad.
Really.
So I was playing hurt for 2 weeks there.
Yeah.
But finally, I feel better. I mean,
I had a similar thing. I still have a little bit of a deeper voice than normal, which I kind of like. I don't know.
I mean, at this level of podcast, no one's coming in 100%. You know, we're all dinged up.
We're all dinged up. Well, yeah. It's like MMA. Everybody goes into the fight with some injury.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like MMA, all the hard work's been done. And
It's all been done.
Now we're ready. We just have
all
to
our
perform.
prep. It's really about, it's 99% preparation, this podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And some say it's more mental than physical. I think
it's very mental.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But, I'm feeling all right. I do have an update, though, I have a ghost update.
Oh, my God. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I tell you, I listened to our paranormal special.
Yeah,
Dimitri, that's what I should be calling it, our paranormal special.
Yeah, a very special episode.
I loved that episode. That was so good. So I'm so excited you have a ghost update.
Yeah, and be prepared to have your mind change, because if people didn't listen, I can't imagine anyone didn't listen to the very special paranormal episode.
If you have not listened to it, continue to listen this episode. But when you get a moment, go back and listen to it. It's actually very funny and interesting. So, and like everybody says, keep an open mind.
Exactly. You have to keep an open mind. And so if anyone missed it, you and I have not had paranormal experiences.
Well, I didn't say that, actually.
Well, you didn't?
Yeah.
That's true. I guess
I do have a ghost story, I can tell you.
Oh, you have had one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let me do my update.
Yeah.
Then, because I was very clear, I think, in the episode that I have not.
You came across a little skeptical.
I'm a little skeptical. I think that's fair to say. I'm a little skeptical of paranormal experiences.
Yes. You were sharing some stories of others that you had heard.
That I'm a little bit skeptical. I think
you're a little on the fence about them.
There are possible other explanations other than ghosts.
Okay. So
this came up because, I was listening to the episode, so I've been talking about ghosts lately.
Okay.
And someone I know said they had a story that could change my mind.
Okay. Let me get my head around this, Dan. So did they listen to the episode?
I'm actually not positive, because
they just had the gist that you're slightly skeptical.
Yes.
So they go, I have a story that's going to change your mind.
And because I said, most of these
they don't have a fact. They don't have.
They're not
going to drag you someplace and give you an experience. They're just going to tell you words, and it's going to change your mind.
But they had an experience.
Okay.
That I could not explain.
Okay.
Because I said, most of these stories are, someone's half asleep.
Oh, right.
Or someone,
the wind blows.
And they
something.
said, well, I have a story.
Okay.
And at first they said, I don't even want to tell you the story because
you're going to ruin it.
You're going to think I'm crazy.
Oh.
I don't want you to think I'm a maniac. And I said, well, I can't make any promises.
You can't.
But that
and there are crazy people out there.
They said, but they were saying to me, you were saying that no one actually saw the ghost. Was wide awake and saw and had definitive proof.
Okay.
And I have a story that I think will change your mind.
Wow.
Is what they told me.
I'm very excited.
I was like, I'm pretty excited, and I'm ready to have my mind change. Bring on the ghost.
Yeah, ready to get our mind blown.
So here's the story.
Can I? Mm-hmm. Do you want to fill me in on the background of this individual? Do you want to build up their credibility at all?
I do not.
Okay.
Because I don't want first of all, to throw them under the bus.
Can you give us broad strokes? Are they
sort of
college graduate?
I don't know. Young woman.
It's a young woman.
Yeah. If I tell how I know her, then it'll be obvious who it is.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So
Okay. And
in her 20s.
she's in her 20s.
Yeah.
And how old was she when she had this
High
experience?
school.
So she was a teenager when she
Yes.
had the experience.
Yes.
Okay.
And she so she went with friends to an old haunted graveyard.
I'm going to interrupt you.
Yeah.
And up until this most recent story,
Yeah.
you held this person in pretty good regard, high regard. Like they seem like a credible person to you. Okay. Continue with the story.
I didn't know them. I don't know them
Got
that
it.
well.
Got it.
I don't,
Right.
I don't know them that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know them
Oh.
that super well.
Okay.
They're not like them. So I have no opinion.
You have no opinion. All right.
Um,
That's truly the scientific perspective. No opinion.
yeah.
All right.
So they visited a graveyard, and I think there was a mission to find ghosts.
So
And-
this young woman set out with their friends.
Yeah. That's why they're in the
It's like a
graveyard.
Scooby-Doo thing.
And they had,
to
apparently,
find
I didn't know
ghosts.
they have this. She said they had all, I'm quoting here, I don't know too much of the details of this.
Okay.
All the ghost hunting apps,
They have apps on the phone.
apparently.
Interesting.
Like, I guess, metaphysical readings and so on that you can download, I guess.
Oh, right. Like you're getting some kind of magnetic field.
Yeah, or
thing,
ghost
something like this.
waves.
Waves. And
Now,
so this happened in the New England area.
yes,
Okay.
Massachusetts. And this person also was skeptical about the apps. She was
They were skeptical about the apps,
She was like,
but not the ghosts.
well, she came in, she was like, those apps don't work.
Those apps don't work.
She said, the apps don't work.
Okay.
So I thought maybe the apps proved it.
I can't wait to open my phone up.
I was
and
like,
look
are
for
you
some of
are you
these
going to
apps.
tell me that you just saw it on one of these apps? And she was like, no, because you could have anything appear on an app, right? Like it could be.
Pretty much, yeah.
So she said, no, the apps don't work. So then she said,
You should have stopped there right there and said, you need to be a little bit more open-minded.
yeah,
Just
don't
dismiss
just throw
the
the apps
apps.
under. Don't throw the apps under the bus. Just because you didn't see a ghost in the app,
Right.
doesn't
Just because
mean
the
app
apps didn't work for you at that time doesn't mean that.
we should be clear about that.
Yeah.
And we don't want to hear from the ghost app people,
Exactly.
especially,
So
if some of our
it was her
sponsors,
opinion that
like the ghost app
Ghost
community.
app. Dimitri, could you work on that ghost app sponsorship?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to work on that. We should get that.
We should get a ghost app sponsorship.
Yeah.
So they're in the graveyard, and she said this was supposed to be. She had heard that this is where the witches from Salem witch trial were buried.
That
It
was
was not
very
in-
cool.
It was not in Salem, but apparently they were buried somewhere else. I can't confirm or deny that.
Well, there's a logic to that. They're
Yeah.
excommunicated from the
Yeah.
community, buried them somewhere else. Okay.
So they're in a spooky place, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of building up. You got a
Mm.
good. She's with people, and she's saying, you said, have you seen it while awake, with your own eyes, with witnesses?
Okay. Can I interrupt
Yeah.
you? What time of day is this occurring? Is it dark out?
I guess it's dark or getting dark.
See, that's the
because-
thing that frustrates me is, like on those shows, The Ghost Hunter, they're like, well, at 3 a.m., we're going to shut off all the lights and go in the basement and see if we could find anything. Well, why would you look for something under those conditions? That's insanity.
Yeah, why don't ghosts come out in the middle of the day?
Yeah, we turn on all. We want to look for something. What do you do if you're looking for something? You turn on all the lights, and you look around when you have the most visibility.
I guess ghosts have to be spooky, I guess.
I guess so. Yeah.
Why, not to go on a tangent, but why are ghosts always creeping people out? Like, why are they so unfriendly? Like,
I have
why
no
are they
idea.
always being terrible to people?
I think,
like,
I think the logic is they're caught between two worlds,
So
and they're
only the-
really annoyed. It's like they're
only
waiting
the
for a
angry-
train, and the train isn't showing
yeah,
up.
or I don't know the science behind it, but it seems reasonable to me that only the angry ghosts would be the ones that are around. Like the
Are left
peaceful
behind.
one. Yeah.
Right. Oh, that's it. There's some trauma, and they're confused. They don't realize that they're really dead, and they're hanging around. I
Right,
think
something
that's the
like that.
logic.
And where-
yeah.
That makes sense to me. I don't know if
Yeah.
science backs this up. But
Well, so right now, that's for you. It's an hypothesis.
Right.
It's not an actual
Right.
theory that you've tested.
right.
Okay,
But it seems reasonable.
that's reasonable.
So they're in the graveyard, and they're walking along. Like, so we're reaching a pretty, like a climax here, right?
Yeah.
So here's where, walking along, out of the corner of her eye, she sees like a white blob near the ground.
Near the ground.
Yeah. So and then, of course, being a little skeptical, I was like, could it be a tombstone? Like you're in
right.
a graveyard.
Yeah.
And they're white.
Right. That had fallen on its side or something.
Yeah. Or not. And she was like, no, because the tombstones were all dark. It was dark out. This was more like a glowing white thing in the corner of her vision.
Okay.
So I'm like, we're building up to some reasonable ghost experience
and
here.
you know what, Dan? I have to apologize. Mm-hmm. My obnoxious, skeptical mind is like brainstorming all the things that it could be. You know what I mean? It could be a problem with her vision, right? She could have like some kind of bubble on her retina or cornea or something. Who the hell knows, right? So, or like you said, it could be a tombstone.
Right.
Or it could just be like a tarp that the workers had left out.
I think there could be quite a few things.
I'm just apologizing for my leap to skepticism.
Right.
So
at this point, I'm like, okay, we're headed somewhere here, right?
Yes, with the story. Yep.
And unfortunately, that was kind of the end of the experience.
That's it?
Like it kind of. So I'm like, like you see at the corner of your eye, and I'm like, you turn and she told me I was too scared to turn and look at it. I'm like, hold on, you went like ghost hunting, and you saw a ghost at the corner of your eye.
And you did, what did she do? Hightail it out of there?
No, just sort of I think froze.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wait, are you telling me that? So I try to be nice. So I'm sort of, I said, I'm not sure I'm convinced yet. But then the backup was there was a guy there in high school that I guess liked her. And when she mentioned it, he said, oh, yeah, I also saw a white blob just like that. So she said,
why would he say that unless it was perfectly true?
I can't think of any reason. Can you?
I can't.
So
my headphones just went out, Dan. I can't hear you. Can you imagine that?
What? How do you?
We're talking about ghosts, and all of a sudden my headphones go down.
How do you explain that?
Can you explain it?
I mean, could be just.
Some might call that a coincidence. I don't know.
No, right. It could be a coincidence, but I don't.
Could you please hand me those? There are headphones over there?
Yes, that's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
To call that a coincidence?
That is weird, man. Holy cow. I wish we had one of those apps on right now. Let's see if these work.
If we had one of those apps, I could be checking the whole room right now. Does that work?
Doesn't work, no.
Is that even more of a sign?
That's so weird, right?
What's going on, Dimitri? Is Dimitri possessed?
Let's just go on. I don't need headphones.
Okay.
These might turn back on.
All right. Nothing?
I can't hear you. I can hear some static, though. I don't know.
All right. Well, I can hear me.
Okay. That's all that matters.
Again, I wasn't, to be clear, I didn't spend the time. Like, I wasn't, like, rolling my eyes. And I was just I just kind of stopped and looked. Like, I didn't say anything. I was just, like, maybe raised an eyebrow.
I have to say this. If a woman I was interested in said she saw a ghost in the graveyard and she was looking for backup, I would be backing her up so fast. School? I would be so there. Absolutely.
So, yeah. So, to her, she was like, so I saw it. I was wide awake. And I had someone else saw it too. And I'm like, yeah, yet. So I just, actually what I did was, so it was I was just like, it was just, I don't know. Right. I just said like, well, that changes my mind.
My headphones just bolted on.
When I said that changes my mind?
You said, whoop, and then bang. They just went on. And
Dimitri,
now you're super loud. Now it's like you're screaming at me.
Dimitri, is this...
What's going on here?
Could this be a natural phenomenon? Or is this... Is there any explanation for this?
Dan, we've done thousands of these episodes, and this has never happened before.
Wow.
I mean, that's a slight exaggeration. We've done about 30. But
But it's never happened before.
Never happened before. What are the odds of that happening? That is crazy.
My mind's changed.
Wow.
So all I said was,
I get
at the time,
goosebumps.
I just sort of raised an eyebrow, and I was like, I think I kind of, it may have been something to my tone of voice, but I was like, well, my mind's changed. That's what I said to her, just as my mind's being changed now in the studio.
Yeah.
And the reaction was, like we talked about.
She got really mad at you?
Not really, but mad.
She got annoyed.
And said to me, you're ruining it. And said, I believed it. I believed
so,
it. I believed it.
So you're saying, oh, yeah, you changed your mind. That ruined it. That belief, that experience was so tenuous. It was so hanging on by a
It seemed to be
wisp.
hanging on by a thread. Because I just sort of raised an eyebrow and said, well, you convinced me. That's what I was like, you convinced me. I can't think of a single other explanation. I just said that, and then she wasn't mad. She kind of laughed and said, yeah, you're ruining the whole thing.
You're ruining it. Yeah.
And she's like, now I don't even believe in ghosts. And stormed out. So, I don't know why she had that reaction, because I still have an open mind.
That's very funny.
So that was my story. I got told, that to dissuade me.
Okay.
I have to admit, I'm still on the fence. It didn't totally convince me.
I have to say, I thought it was going to be a much more compelling story
Yeah,
than a blob.
It's sort of like a blob at the corner of your vision. I mean, I've heard actually someone else gave me a similar blob at the corner of vision story.
Really?
Yeah. But the only thing is, and they were a kid, and they said they had the blob at the corner of the vision, but that brings up another point about these ghost stories, which the last time I heard that, the other time someone told me it was a blob at the corner of my vision,
Yeah.
they were like, it was like my grandparent just died, and it's something where you can't really, you don't want to be a smartass, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when they're talking about someone that just died, or there's some,
Right.
they're in memoriam, or either in mourning
kinda
or
like
in
those,
memoriam for someone, they're sort of like,
Right.
then you don't want to, then you just want to be like, all right.
It's like those horrible entertainers that supposedly talk to the deceased.
You're right, right.
You know what's weird? There was a couple of those guys that were really big, right? In the turn of the century here, so to
you mean
speak.
way back.
Like
you
in-
mean the turn of this century? Or
Yeah, like in the 90s and early 2000s, there was a couple guys that they did big shows, and they had TV shows, and they would have auditoriums full of people, and they would just cold read or pre-interview people, and then they would be talking to their
They get the microphone in their ear and stuff.
yeah, and they got away with it for a while. It's so weird. You wouldn't think that would be possible anymore, but I guess maybe it isn't possible anymore.
Well,
but
people won't change their minds too, right? They doggedly stick with their beliefs no matter what happens.
Well,
so
they're so incentivized to it. It's such a great feeling that your beloved one says everything's okay.
we
I
talked
love you.
about that. We have a bunch of it. We talked about that not in terms of ghosts, but in facilitated communication, where they were like, that was last episode where they said this allows your child to communicate with you, and they said it's not really actually working, and people to this day
still
stay with it because they don't want to change it. You said you saw once, back in the ghost example, a show on TV where they were in a bar, a haunted bar.
Yep.
And there was a stool on the bar. Is this right? And then they said the evidence of the ghost was the stool fell off the bar and just bounced and landed upright.
Yeah.
Do you remember this? You told me this years ago.
Yeah.
And then while they were talking, is the way I remember it, they just knocked the stool off the bar.
The guy used his hand, and he knocked the stool, and it did exactly the same thing.
It bounced. It was just the way.
Exactly the same. It was just the physics of the stool and the floor and everything. Yeah.
Right. But to your point, to the point we're making, it was that they didn't change their mind, right? No one batted an eyelid. It wasn't like, oh, so it's just the physics of the stool. They were like,
no,
yes,
actually, it did. To their point, those guys did. Those are the guys, I think, from Rhode Island, the ghost hunters or whatever they're called. No, they were like, they actually wrote that off.
But the guy in the bar, like I would think most people, I doubt the person in the bar, I'd be surprised if they were like, oh, so it's not a ghost. Like most people stick with their beliefs, they just
like, how do we know you're not a ghost?
Yeah, we're just like, well, all right, that's not it, but I still think there's a ghost.
Yeah.
Or
I had you want to hear my ghost? I think I have two ghost stories I could tell you.
That you personally have seen ghosts.
I wouldn't say that. They're my experiences. So this isn't somebody telling me something.
Mhm.
So years ago, I visited a friend in Nantucket,
Mm-hmm.
and he was in a house with his family, and then there was a little guest house next door.
Are there a lot of ghosts on Nantucket? We should have some background here. Do you know?
The
Is it a
impression I have, yes,
The ghosty,
because there were people that were. It was a big whaling place.
right? And it's like old.
Old in the 1700s. I think in the 1700s, early 1700s maybe, it was like the richest place in the world.
Right.
It was equivalent of, I don't know, Dubai or something.
But you bring up a good point about ghosts.
Yeah?
They have to be kind of like old whalers or like
Right.
old pilgrim or something. right?
Pirates.
I
Yeah.
thought about that. A pirate or
Yeah.
like it has to be creepy.
It's got to
Like,
have
can
a
you
little
be a
creepy
ghost?
mystique
Can
to
you
it.
be a ghost that's
You're
like
an accountant?
from the
CPA?
yeah, or like it from the
Probably
disco era or something, roller skating in. Like,
Some disco stuff was pretty creepy, Dan. I think you could do disco.
I still feel though a ghost with like a big disco fro and like roller skating into the room is not gonna have the same effect
As
as
Peg
like
Leg
a, as
the
like a-
Pirate,
yeah, Peg Leg the Pirate or an old pilgrim, angry pilgrim that killed his family or something like that.
Or a Confederate soldier
Right.
or a Native American
Yeah.
warrior.
That's what I'm saying. It has
Yeah.
to be something like that. Why is that? Like,
don't
why
know.
don't you have? I don't know the science behind it, like I said, but you never have like just a little nerdy ghost or something, right? Or like,
Not usually, right?
or a goofy ghost. Do you have a goofy? Or maybe the other ghosts, like, say you're a bunch of angry spirits, and one of the spirits is like a real goof.
Uh-huh.
Do they ask him like, "Could you sit this out? Like you're ruining
Oh,
the haunting." Do
right.
you know what I mean? They're
yeah.
like, "We're
You're not
trying."
taking this serious.
Yeah, exactly.
You're
They're like,
making the rest of us look bad.
exactly. We're trying to creep this family out,
Very
and
unprofessional.
when
with
you
your
follow,
shenanigans.
like, or like before they go in to creep out the family, they're like, "Are you gonna wear that?" Like, they're like, "Yeah."
That's what you're
you know,
wearing?
just like you're wearing that to the yeah, exactly. They're like, you can't wear that. Like they're
You're not
gonna
really
be
that, are you?
yeah.
You're about to get ready, right?
Yeah. Or after the haunting, they're like, "Yeah, if you could not say what you said, like that was like not really creepy." And the ghost like, "I thought that was creepy." Like,
Nah.
it was really kind of took away from the whole thing. I don't know. Did these things happen? I
They
don't know.
might.
I'm not an expert.
Oh, so
Yeah.
I'm in Nantucket, home of whalers and
Yeah.
probably pirates and ghosts of all sorts.
Yeah.
Old sailors,
Yeah.
seamen.
Right.
Yeah. And they say, by the way, where you're staying, so where we were staying was like a little studio, I guess you'd call it. You'd go up the stairs, and there was a couple kind of little bedroom areas. I don't think they were actually bedrooms, and a little living room area, tiny kitchenette, and so forth. And stairs,
And
wooden
was this
stairs that went up there.
the guest house?
This was the guest house, Dan.
Right.
They said,
And you're
There's-
going to stay in the attic?
this is the second floor. Yeah, I don't know. And they said there's ghost activity over there, and a lot of people have some really scary experiences. So
Okay.
they're like, okay, so this is always good to prime you for it. You know,
Right. How old were you?
I was married. I think I had 2 kids,
So
so I was
30
like
and-
30 or something. Yeah, and it was a lovely vacation, and on Nantucket and everything.
Yeah.
And I was there with my lovely wife and lovely children. It was very nice. So we got up there, we went to bed, and then in the middle of the night, we heard like the stairs cracking and popping, like somebody was walking up
Right.
the stairs. And my wife like elbowed me and said, "Do you hear that? Sounds like somebody is walking up the stairs."
And
So I got up
mm-hmm.
and I went over and looked down the stairs, and there was nothing there.
Right. And is that the end?
That's the end. I think that's on
But
par with a blob in the corner of your eye.
That could be. It could have been a ghost.
Could have been a ghost.
I grew up in a house from like the 1800s, like an old,
Right.
and we had some ghost activity. I think.
Yeah.
And I had in 2 seconds, I can tell you, we had our cats and dog would sometimes stare at the top of the attic stairs
That's so cool.
for no reason.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you were sitting in the attic, like the couch would shake a little bit. Like it
When
would
you're
just
sitting on the couch?
Yeah, it would just start to kind of shake.
Is that kind of a Ouija board thing?
I don't know.
Yeah.
All I know is those are my ghost experiences. I can't explain it any other.
Can't explain it.
I
I have one other ghost
Yeah.
story that I can think of at the moment. I probably have others that I've blocked out. They've been more traumatic. But where I grew up, Rosendale, lovely town, Rosie rules. There is there's an area, I think it's up near the Faulkner Hospital, where you go down this road, and I think there used to be like a nurse's school there or something, and they have a large statue of a nurse, I think, or something. And it's oversized, like a 10-foot statue of a woman, kind of almost like give you the feeling of a Statue of Liberty or something like this. So the lore at the time was that this was haunted, and if you did something to deface the statue, that would happen to you.
Right.
So, of course, the statue is completely defaced. Like its nose was chipped off.
Right.
So somebody wanted something to happen to their own nose. I don't know why.
Right.
And then now I remember, if you urinated on it, you would get a
Urinated
venereal
on?
disease.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think
Or urinary tract infection. No, they said venereal disease. Yeah.
what first of all, how do you find that out? Someone
Your
has to-
other
someone
13, 14-year-old friends tell you this stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
It seems like an easy haunting to avoid, though.
Oh,
You know
yeah,
what I
you
mean?
got to
Like,
go
if
way
someone
out of your way.
If someone tells me
You got to
know,
go for this long walk
Yeah.
up there,
Someone's
go
like,
up the hill.
if you deface the statue, that'll happen to you. Like, well, then I just won't.
Right.
And you're
But
in the clear,
oddly
right?
enough, we were drawn to it
Right.
like a moth to a flame. And a group of us went up there, and it was getting dark, so it was darkness was just descending, and there's the statue. And it is, with all this mystique behind it, and it is kind of creepy area and everything, something happened, and somebody, it was boys and girls, probably 14, I don't know how old we were. Somebody screamed and started running, so then everyone just started running. And then there were all these stories like the thing moved and its arm came down. I saw that too, blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
You didn't spot that, though, yourself.
I kind of missed that. Yeah.
You
I
missed
don't
the
know.
moving statue. You just ran.
Yeah, I kind of jogged behind everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you
So-
do get that sense of mass hysteria because once somebody screams and you're already in a minor stress response, your ears are open, your hair's standing up the back of your neck. You're trying to take in all this information, and somebody
Right.
screams and starts running. Then you have a bolt of stress response. So who
Right.
knows what you could believe or see at that point?
Right. So I have a couple questions about your ghost stories.
Okay.
One is going back to the footsteps on the stairs.
Right.
And these are all broader points, which is, would it be worse to see a ghost or like a person on the stairs? Wouldn't you rather
Right.
see a ghost?
Yes.
Like, do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
No,
this
I was looking
actual
forward to it. I was
person.
hoping that I was going to see some kind
Like,
of
there's
specter.
actually, first of all, that's another point. I want to see a ghost.
Yeah,
Right? I mean, that's good.
definitely. Yeah.
Like,
That would have been
means
pretty cool.
that
Yeah.
means that gives you more hope for afterlife and this kind
Right.
of stuff.
Or
Yep.
you have some sort of mental illness. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that
Which-
one's not as good.
That's not as good.
That's not quite as good.
Right.
But actually, that as a quick side point to that, if a ghost kills you, are you then
standing right next to him?
yeah as a ghost?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
What was
You know what I
that
mean?
all about?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Suddenly that you're like, well, suddenly some little pilgrim's not looking so scary when you're also a ghost. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I know exactly what you mean.
Like, so that's what I'd say to a ghost coming up. It'd be like, you better watch out, because if you kill me, I'm coming right after you.
Right after you.
And you're on the same, presumably, you're on a level field at that point, right? You're both ghosts. As soon as they kill you,
I don't know the
they
rules.
lose their
Yeah.
whole edge.
I would think.
I would
I
think
don't know, I'd
suddenly,
have
you're,
an edge anyways, but
suddenly
yeah.
you're standing there yourself as a spirit, like,
Right.
you little shit, like you just killed me.
Yeah.
And then and all the spookiness is gone, so the ghost must be like, sorry. You know,
Sorry.
like suddenly stammering, like, well, I'm angry because my burial site. And you're like, oh yeah, like I'm responsible for that. Like, it must be like a really tense moment for the ghost.
Give him a piece of your ghost mind at
Yeah.
that point. Yeah.
At that point, yeah, or beat the crap out of them. I don't know if you can or not. I don't know the rules, but that's what I would say to a ghost that was threatening me. Be like, you better watch it. But my other point was about like a human is worse, right? Like a ghost on the stairs, you're like, well, who knows how this is going to turn out.
Yeah.
A human, you're like, this can't be good.
This is not good. Why is a human creeping up
Yeah.
the stairs where
You
my
know
family
it's
is
bad.
sleeping? Yeah.
I used to say that about the graveyard, right? Like in the middle of the night where people like, the worst thing would be to see a zombie. And you're like, you don't know what a zombie is going to do. But a person, like if you're in the middle of the night in a graveyard, it's just a guy is walking toward you.
Yeah, I don't buy the whole zombie thing anyway. So they're slow moving. It doesn't make any sense. And none of it makes sense. Zombies eat you. Well, if zombies eat people, how do the people become zombies? It doesn't make any sense.
It's a hole it's a flaw.
Yeah.
Well, the zombie's a whole other. That's a whole.
Yeah.
That's a whole other episode. But the zombie episode. But I have problems with that. I think slow moving. Honestly, I think humanity would get it under control pretty quick. I don't think there'd be a zombocalypse. I think we'd sort it out. There'd be a rash of deaths, and then
there was some movie where the zombies are really, really fast.
Yeah, that'd be more of an issue.
Yeah, that'd be a problem.
Yeah, those are the 28 Days Later, and those movies they run full speed. That's more of an issue.
I didn't watch any of those. Yeah.
But the slow moving ones, it's like give me a ladder and I'm all set. You know,
right?
Like,
yeah, just walk briskly away from them.
I do think. Well, again, I don't want to get into zombies. I do think it would be harder to bash their brains in than everyone does in the movies.
Oh, right.
I think you'd be hammering away at those things like, dang, like I can't. It's not as easy as they act like to break a skull and.
Yeah, makes no sense.
You know what I mean? It's always one shot.
Yeah.
In the movie.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So, but like I said, zombies a whole other topic.
Yeah, I'm gonna save that for another podcast episode.
So about running from the statue, that brings up the mass hysteria.
Yeah.
So I haven't felt that because the one time I sort of felt that, I was walking with some people in South Carolina, and in like a swampy area.
Okay.
And we heard a huge thing move, and there's alligators down there. You know, like.
So you heard something that sounded like a large animal moving.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And we all ran.
Yep.
And it comes to mind that I felt that same feeling of like the adrenaline burst, and we were just like running, sprinting through the woods. So no ghost, but like I get the feeling of everyone runs, and that adrenaline is like when everyone's running, you're just like bursting through the woods. You're running, and I could imagine, seeing things or hearing things. It's just not my style. Like I'm not going to probably no matter what. But
that brings to my mind, Dan, a couple of years. I think it's a couple of years now, or 18 months. It was a while ago that I was up in the Canadian wilderness doing some goofy vision quest where I didn't eat for 3 days, and I stayed out camping by myself, all alone, and it's the wilderness. There's bears up there. There's everything up there.
Yeah, and it's not. I was just quickly make that difference. Like people confuse sort of amusement park risk with real risk. You know, sort of like amusement park, like roller coasters. You're like, oh, this is scary, but it's not. You're not. There's no real risk there.
Yes.
I would even go so far as to say something scary, like which would be terrorizing for you. I think you're not a big fan of heights, but I went skydiving.
Yeah.
And people are like, you're crazy. And I'm like, I don't think it's real risk though. I think you have a skydiving. There's some risk there. It's
definitely
more than a roller coaster. But at the same time,
when did you go skydiving?
15 years ago or something.
What do you think the actual fatality rate is?
I think low as hell.
Like one in how many do you think? What would you guess?
100,000?
I think you're probably correct. Yeah.
That was what I was thinking. That's what I think the public doesn't understand numbers like that. Like for me,
but I still wouldn't take that risk. 1 out of 100,000. I kind of like how everything is. I don't need the fun.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't do it again.
Yeah.
But but that was my thinking. I was like, okay, this school's been open 10 years. Nobody's died. Am I going to be the first to die? You know? I never really verified that actually. Although, you know what? When I showed up, I was sort of like, well, I thought it would be, some Marine or something would be like, here's the instruction. And I showed up, and everyone at the skydiving school, I don't know if you know skydiving culture, but they were all sort of like,
hippie?
They weren't wearing shoes, and they were just like, dude, I'm so hungover. And I'm like, you're my instructor? I wanted, some sergeant.
Right.
Or say, like, I'm lieutenant. I wanted someone
You
saluting
wanted somebody
me.
a little uptight.
Yeah, uptight, saluting me.
Yeah.
Be like, this is no laughing matter. We check it 3 times. I'd be like, yes, sir. And it was just like, dude, I was out last night. And I'm like, really?
That's not good.
I'm like, you pack my, like, can I check the chute? Like, can I check the, and each thing, was like, wind was gusting, and they were like, dude, that's not good. And I'm like, what? Dude, that's not good. Do you have like any kind of like more specific policy
There's
about
a guy
the wind?
that used to train with us, Dan, and he was a helicopter pilot. And he told me a story. He was skydiving, so not a tandem jump, all by himself, but there was a couple instructors there or something, and his chute didn't open. And then his emergency chute didn't open. And these guys saw that he was in trouble, and they sort of like navigated toward him, and they were trying to get the thing open. It wasn't working. So then they started punching the pack. And then after several punches, it finally opened. And, he came within moments of dying.
Well, yeah.
And
that's all right. See, if you'd even told me that story, I probably wouldn't have gone.
right.
Nah, I
Yeah.
probably still would have gone. But it's sort of so that's the real, that's like, that doesn't happen on a roller coaster. Like the roller coaster is pure, almost pure fake fear.
Yeah.
Not 100%.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying about the numbers. Like how it must be so unlikely for the chute and backup to not open, both of them, right?
Right. And the guy swooping in and punching the shit
Yeah.
out of it till it opens. So, like, yeah, that guy was fine.
Yeah.
So.
But I mean, that must be pretty, like my whole thing about the thing that makes me not scared in situations is numbers like that. Like the major jets, everyone hits those turbulence and freaks out. And I don't think any big jet has ever crashed because of turbulence, like the big ones.
I think you're right.
The little ones have, I think, never. So you hit turbulence, and to me, other people focus on the wrong things. They're like, can these wings withstand it? And it's made
Like
of
if an
metal
engine
and
explodes or
and
something, if you
yeah.
see this big fireball outside your
Right.
window, that's a different story.
Right.
Yeah, but if it's just
But
bumping around, yeah.
It's like even bad bumping,
Right.
it's just never happened, right? Like
don't
I
think
think
so.
I think it might, like, as you land, maybe you're more at risk, but not in no large jet is in the middle of the air.
I think as you land
is the biggest, or as you take off, as you land's all the risk, right?
I think so.
So it's the numbers. Like I had a friend that was scared of roller coasters,
Yeah.
and he was looking at it, and he's like, that looks like it's made of wood, and who are the engineers? And I'm like, you're focusing on the wrong thing. You don't focus on like the bolts and the wood and the supports. It's that this thing's been running all day now and all summer, and nothing's happened. So we're going to get on once. Like what are the odds? To me, that's the safety, is the numbers, the probability, where you're like, this thing's been running and running and running, and nothing's happened.
Right.
So I'll feel safe to get on it one time.
Right. Well, to get back to the story, when we looked at how many people get killed by bears up in Canada, that area, it was more than you would think,
But black bears? I
think they have grizzly bears and black
Oh,
bears.
see, grizzly's the problem.
Yeah. So I think it was basically one person a year gets killed by a bear. I think,
That's
or
my
something like
safety
that.
that's my same thing with bears, because I've said before on the podcast, I hike, and a lot of times it's like not even on a trail. And even if you're on a trail, the bear doesn't know you're on a trail, There's
Right.
still not people around. And but I sort of feel like you don't hear about it. You just don't hear about black bears
Not too much.
killing people, but at least not New Hampshire. Like that's where I am, or the Catskills, or
I think it happens, but it's pretty rare.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a kid got killed by a black bear in New Jersey once.
Right.
Like a couple of years ago. He had pictures. He was taking pictures.
And actually, skiing is dangerous. We looked up those stats. I think basically one person a year dies maybe in Vermont or New England skiing.
They're
so
skiing, and a
yeah.
bear picks them off the skis.
Well, if you throw both of those in, the numbers probably go up. Oh, so I'm outside my tent. I don't know if it's day 2 of this debacle. And like you said, I hear kind of like a large animal, and I'm alone. And I see the bushes moving, and I see this big brown thing moving, and you can tell that there's a lot of mass behind this. It's not a freaking squirrel.
Not a fox, yeah.
And I can see brown stuff that is like 6 feet tall or close to that or something.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, this is not good, you know. And I'm having a stress response.
Right.
Yeah. And you know what it turned out to be?
Deer.
Nope. It was a wild horse, actually.
A wild horse?
Yeah, even big, which didn't make me feel perfectly safe either.
By the way.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound as cool. Like, for me, you wouldn't want to be dying, being like, I can't believe I'm going out, but killed by a horse.
Trampled by a wild horse. I
Like,
mean,
I never thought this would go. This wouldn't be that cool.
right.
It's
At
not
one
as
point,
cool
I
as a
was
bear.
in my tent, and the thing like, ran by me at a pretty good clip, and pretty close to my tent. And I was like,
they're huge.
wow.
They could kill
Yeah.
you pretty easy.
I think so. Yeah.
I think if you, especially if it stomped you and you had last words, you could be like, tell people it was a bear. That's what I do. I always thought that about Africa when everyone gets killed by hippos. You know, you've heard that, right? Like hippos kill.
Seem super dangerous.
I would do my last words would be like, could you tell everyone it was a lion? It just
or
sounds
a
better.
rhinoceros or something.
But I had that. But this is going to sound even. This is going to sound so wimpy. But I had that thought where I was running at Penn State. I might have told. It sounds familiar. Like I might have told you this, but we were at some conference in Penn State decades ago. But I went running. But the idea is I didn't know the area. I had no idea
You're
where
at
it was.
Penn State. Penn State. You're at Penn State.
Yeah.
And you're at a conference.
Yeah. And it's the
and
middle.
you were working for a company at this time?
Yeah, it was academia.
Academia. And then you decided to go out for a jog.
Yeah.
And
so
is it a rural area that you're
It was
jogging?
extremely rural.
Okay.
And there was a path kind of thing. It just
All
looked
right.
like a path you could jog on. It was near the hotel. So I jogged off sort of into the woods. And the path opened up into a field. And as I'm halfway through the field, a huge field, these huge cows come like trotting up. So for two things about that.
They came trotting up.
Yeah.
Okay.
One is there's different sized cows.
Yeah.
Like there's cows that are like up to here. And these cows were huge.
Yeah.
Like thousands of, like their backs were higher than my head.
Do they have horns?
They were little. This was the thing.
Right.
I was looking at them like, could this be a bull? You'd think you'd know automatically, but when you're in the middle of a jog, in the middle of a field,
These gigantic animals come
yeah,
up.
you're like, is that like I know a bull will kill me?
Don't they have can't they only have one bull around? If there's more than one bull, it gets ugly.
That's what I thought. But then
Right.
I also thought maybe one of them's a bull, and
They
the
could
rest
be
are cows.
steer, right?
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
So
if I
they
was
came
a
up-
steer, I'd be pretty pissed off.
So then people think like, oh, when they come up close and you're like, oh, they're cows, you don't feel worried anymore. But I was still worried. I was like, these are
Yeah.
huge animals,
Right.
And I sort of couldn't believe they weren't behind a fence, or I was like, how are they just loose like on this path?
That's one thing I have respect for is animals, and especially wild animals, but even large domesticated animals and horses and nature in general. Yeah, I don't like it when people mess around with animals. It's
Because
just-
the other thing is if they attack you, they're coming for you. Like they're like, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's not
they're not going to be
squaring off.
reasonable, right?
And they know ways to kill you. Like you're sort of like, well, what could a deer do to me? It'll be like, it'll find something to do to you. Like, do
You
you
ever
know what I mean?
see that little video where the guy must have sprayed himself
Yeah.
with pheromones or something, and then the deer
deer
just demolished him, man.
Yeah. They find ways, because you look at something like an elephant's obviously humongous, but you sort of feel like, well, it doesn't really have claws,
Oh man!
but then elephants will kill anything easily.
easily
They had one. I saw one special where
they kind of put their head down on you and
Yeah.
just crush you,
they're
right?
so huge. Yeah,
Oh.
I've seen them just murder. Like run. I saw one where a young elephant,
Oh,
so it was
right.
half the size of a grown
Yeah.
elephant, and it killed like 17 rhinoceroses.
I saw that.
And it was sort of like, the people are like, what do we do? Do we put down the elephant? It's killing all the endangered rhinoceros. And it was just some, crazed from its first puberty or whatever.
Yeah,
But they'll find a way to hurt you. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So you say, what's a cow going to do? It's like, I have no doubt it'll find a way to hurt me.
A little house cat could rip your face off.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or I saw another ugly internet video where you click on and you go, why did I click on that? It was but a pit bull ran out and attacked a horse. And it was like not one of these gigantic horses. It was kind of like a little workhorse in some
And
country.
What did the horse punt the thing? Or
The
punt
horse
poor
stomped
dog?
it to death,
Yeah,
like pretty easily.
That's too bad.
First of all, you click on it and go, well, I don't need to see this. But again, you think a vicious pit bull, what's that little horse going to do? And when they go, they go. So anyway, all my friends were laughing at me about being afraid of cows in a field. But I was like, well, here in the bar, I'm not afraid of cows. But like
they're
when
just
you're
sitting there lying down. But if they come trotting over at you,
and you're in the middle of a field and
it's a little weird.
And you don't know where you are too. It's not
Maybe
like,
they thought you were bringing them food or something. Is that what you think
I
happened?
have no idea what happened. I had another cow. Now that I think about it, I was walking at the Aggie in Walpole with my dog.
Okay.
And he and my kids and my wife. So it was a family outing with the dog, and there were cows, but they only had like a 3-foot fence, like a little wire, to block them.
Yep.
And there was a calf, and my dog saw the calf, and barked at it, and it freaked the mother cow out.
Huh.
So he barked at it, and so the mother cow makes this like roaring noise.
I bet.
Which you don't really picture a cow doing, and then runs at us, and it's heavy enough. It's like shaking. It's like thump, thump, thump.
Can
thump,
feel
thump,
it, huh?
thump, thump. Yeah, you feel it in the ground, and all of a sudden you're like, "Holy crap! This is like a 3-foot wire that they generally use."
This
to
cow's
keep the cows
probably
up.
not going to respect this wire.
Yeah. So I just took the dog. I told my wife like really quick. I'm like, take the kids that way, and I took the dog and ran the other direction. But if that cow kept coming, it did stop at the wire. But if it went over
when you took the dog, did the cow seem more interested in you and the dog than your family?
Yeah, it followed us. But that dog was going to be honest. If that went over the wire, good luck, dog. You know what I mean? I'd have to be like, what am I going to do? I can't.
Every dog for himself.
Plus, the dog's got a better chance without me holding the leash. So I was going to be like, goodbye, dog. Just like good luck.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think
I will find you.
Yeah, I don't think the cow could kill a dog anyway. But so yeah, I've been terrorized by cows twice.
But you came out unscathed.
Yeah, yeah. I survived my cow incident. Like I feel sort of like
You're pretty durable. We heard about all your attacks by human beings that you got out and, unscathed, and your what did we call it? Your situational awareness, that you're really good at avoiding muggings and things like this.
And I avoided the cow.
And now you're good at avoiding the cow attacks.
All the bovine attacks as well. I'm doing pretty well in that area.
Did you see a guy got attacked by a mountain lion and he strangled it to death or something? The jiu-jitsu community loved it.
Yeah. Did you hear
it? It had nothing to do with jiu-jitsu,
The story slowly degraded. It was like jiu-jitsu guy strangled out a mountain lion, and then like little by little the details come out. And the first detail was he's not a jiu-jitsu guy.
Right.
He stepped on its neck.
He stood on its neck.
And then the second detail was it was like a starving kitten.
It was a baby.
Yeah. Did you hear it? It was like 4 months old.
Oh, was it? So what did it weigh?
35 pounds.
Oh.
So
but like, still, Dan, that could mess you up. A 35-pound mountain lion.
Yeah.
I mean, house cats can go. I mean, cats are so agile. They can leap up, just rip your face off.
Yeah,
right?
you don't want to deal with an angry cat.
But 35 pounds. Yeah, that's not as big as the typical lion.
I think, they get to like 180 or something. So it's a little different. Because, like we said before, humans aren't going to fight.
Then I heard another story that came out about the mountain lion. Turns out it was a hoax. He paid the mountain lion.
It was all a setup.
Just kidding. Yeah, I saw that. Somebody was riffing on the Jussie Smollett story. The Onion or somebody came out with that whole thing.
The whole
guy
thing was
paid
fake.
the mountain lion, yeah.
The only thing I'll say about that mountain lion guy is he's got to be careful about like I think if I was that guy, I'd be careful to say like, look, I'm not saying I'm a hero. Like you know what I mean? Like because that way,
a hero. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like I'm not. I get it. It was only 35-pound.
Well, this day and age, you never know how public sentiment is going to go. Some people could come after him to say, "You destroyed this beautiful little animal. Why'd you do that?" Right?
Yeah, I think once it jumps on you and tries to kill you, I think all bets are off.
I think so, but
I mean, now because I heard people sort of mocking him because it's 35-pound kitten instead of a mountain lion, but he fought back, and you know what I mean. Some people would just panic and lay down. You know, at least he fought back.
Yeah, there's no guarantee that you're going to get out of that unscathed.
Yeah, yeah, and then you're scared too. You're like, are there how many?
Right,
are there
maybe mom's coming or something.
Yeah. Say you're killing the kitten, then you're like, no mother mountain lion's going to be happy about this, right?
I like how you're calling it a kitten. instead of like a juvenile lion. You're like a kitten.
Yeah.
That guy who killed the kitten,
Yeah, like,
he would be pissed if you were calling it a kitten.
yeah.
Hey, kitten killer.
He stepped on the kitten's neck until it died.
He's a hero. It makes for great clickbait headlines.
I got to
right?
deflect from the fact that my run-in was with a cow. I bet my cow could have killed that mountain lion,
Right.
that kitten.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, easy.
And the guy.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah.
1,200 pounds. I'd like to see him get out of a cow attacking him in the mountains.
Yeah. Try stepping on a cow's neck.
Yeah,
Good
exactly.
luck with that.
Exactly.
Without any jiu-jitsu training.
All right. So what do we cover? Ghosts?
We covered ghosts. We got a couple of my ghost stories in. We got somebody who told you their blob in the corner of their eye ghost story.
Yeah, this was sort of a supernatural episode again.
I love the supernatural, paranormal stuff. And then we got into animal attacks at the end.
With a touch of zombie.
Touch of zombie. Yeah.
just a dab of zombie.
Just a dab.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and once again, ghost stories are always disappointing for me.
Because
They never live up to the hype. You know what I mean? It's like one of these TV series where you have a great intro and great character development, and then it just kind of
Well, that's what
falls apart
each
at
of
the
my
end.
I think that's what I have in common with every ghost story I've heard, that they're sort of like, and then this happened and this happened. Like there's a lead in, and then everyone seems to be like, and I'm like, wait, that it ended? You know what I mean? Like for me,
Right.
it's like, and then I saw a blob out of the corner of my eye, and I'm like, mm-hmm. And then it's like, and that's it. Like,
So
what do
you
mean?
never
It's done?
had somebody say, at the foot of my bed was a person, an apparition, and they were dressed in clothing of the 1700s.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Have you?
No.
It was always blobs and things moving, and
Right.
maybe I had a occasional Ouija board, but that's about it.
Or like one of those light balls of light that's flying
Yeah.
around or something like this.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe we have to go into maybe UFOs next time. I have some UFO.
Definitely.
I've had people tell me some UFO stories, but you know what? We don't need to, because they're always the same thing, right? I can't explain what I saw in the sky.
I looked up at the sky, and I basically had a two-dimensional experience that I'm extrapolating as a three-dimensional experience.
Because I've seen, like, so my dad, who totally rational, said certain lights he saw in the sky, and he described it. You know, he was like, it moved very strangely. And then months later, I found someone filmed the exact thing he described. So I sent him the video, and he's like, yeah, that's what I saw. And to my knowledge, no one's ever explained it. Like,
Oh, yeah.
the video person didn't explain it. I don't know what it is. My dad doesn't know what it is, but
Well, I have...
I assume if it was...
Dan, I think it's time, because we missed it so far, for me to squeeze in my grand theory of the week.
Okay.
So I have a grand theory about UFOs.
Right. So the last...
We also have to mention Craig Lewin, because we somehow mention him every episode. So, Craig, we're going to put you in this episode again. So I feel really good about this theory. I don't know if I should call it a theory or
We should say your last
hypothesis.
grand theory was about ghosts, and that people like ghosts and
Oh,
cling
and
to
magic
the belief,
stuff. Right.
magic stuff, because they like the idea of things we don't understand. And
What makes it
possibly-
feel good about dying and what happens
Yeah.
after death, but then not to be too cynical, it also makes you feel good about the possibility of creating new things and new things
Right.
happening.
Right.
So, yeah, magic's great. I got to get behind magic more.
Right.
I've been too down on the magic. So I have a relatively positive take on the UFOs. So if some intelligent beings are visiting us, they're coming from vast distances, immense distances.
Right.
And they are so far technically advanced than us, it's hard for us to even comprehend it.
Right.
But here's the kicker. They haven't destroyed themselves. So they've been living with the ability to destroy themselves probably for 1,000 years or so. And so that means they're ethically and morally advanced as well. So we really have nothing to fear from them. If they've managed to not kill themselves, they're not going to kill us. They're not going to enslave us. They're
and
not
they're
going
here
to eat
without,
us
and
as
they're here
food.
without invading, right? They haven't invaded yet.
I think they're only going to give us good stuff. It's only good stuff coming from aliens.
And it sort of relates to your last grand theory, just in that it's just one more thing that opens the door to all kinds of possibility, right? Like they have all kinds of advancements, they have all kinds of knowledge, and
I think it would be great if they're here. Only good stuff.
hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we have to wrap it up, but
Yeah.
we got it all in. We got our grand theory in. We got ghost stories. We got Craig Lewin. We got it all in there.
Check the
Check.
checklist.
Yeah.
Craig Lewin.
And thank you, Dan, for another amazing episode. I can't wait to listen to this. You were brilliant once again, and this was awesome.
And not playing hurt for the first time in almost a month.
And I can see the difference. Yeah, you're bringing a whole other energy when you're healthy. There's nobody like him when he's healthy. And so, folks, please share this podcast, rate and review it, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks so much.